What's up, guys? It is Tuesday, November 15th. It's 11:26 a.m. and this is the Crypto Newsletter. Breaking news. Banking heavyweights commence wholesale digital dollar pilot with New York Fed. Citi, HSBC, BNY Mello, but they meant to say Mellon. Wells Fargo, MasterCard are among the financial giants taking part. Dude, when I see this, I just cheese because it's like we're so close. You can feel it. You can feel it. If you've been in the space for a while and been in XRP and tracking Ripple for a while, this stuff wasn't announced. Like even 2 years ago, even a year and a half ago. Actually, 2021 was the start of it, where we started seeing public announcements of these stuff, like them saying they're working on it, them kind of going more public with all this. And it's just been like bang, 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 bang. Like one after another, just huge announcements of these pilots taking place. So you can't help but just cheese when you see this stuff if you've been tracking it for a while. So a group of major banks have commenced a pilot project alongside the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to test the feasibility of using tokens representing digital dollars to improve how central bank money is settled between institutions. Citi, HSBC, BNY Mellon, Wells Fargo are among the banks taking part, along with payments giant MasterCard. The 12-week proof of concept pilot, 12 weeks. So we got 3 months. So December 15th, January 15th, February 15th. That's why I think around February, March, we're going to see regulation will be in place because they go from a pilot to a full-scale launch. So we have so many things happening by the end of Q1. We got ISO 222, SWIFT, Europe. We got UK going live with it. That's happening March, April. We have the Fed now launching the first half of 2023. We have this going to be done by February, middle of February. So many things are happening. So what I believe is there's going to be regulation either in December, and because also too, we got to keep in mind, I don't want to go off track, but Charles Schwab, Fidelity launch crypto. So Charles Schwab, Citadel, Fidelity launch EDX crypto exchange. And I believe this is going to be launched in December. So the group of financial behemoths is launching a Bitcoin and crypto exchange to be settled on-chain with liquidity backing a legacy finance. This is going to happen. I swear I saw something about it being in December, but you can see that unlocking this demand requires a platform that can meet the needs of both retail traders and institutional investors with high compliance and security standards. So with this whole FTX blow up, it's the perfect kind of narrative for regulations to be ushered in. And once regulations come in, as we saw in the newsletter yesterday, these institutions will then pour into here, especially if they can, set up shop at an exchange that is a crypto exchange that's kind of developed between these three behemoths. If they can do that, now you have the institutions piling into a platform that they can trust, and they're just going to throw trillions of dollars into this market. So I think around December, I don't think it's going to be November, but December, we could see regulations be set in place, or at the very latest, March of next year. I don't think it's going to stretch any further than Q1 of next year because you have all these things happening. I feel like this was supposed to be launched in December. Maybe I can see it here. Digital Asset Exchange. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know where I saw that it was going to be in December, but we just know that they're working on it and it's coming soon. That's for sure, especially with the whole FTX blow up. So we're going to see regulation soon. That's going to usher in the institutions. The big money is going to pour money in, and it's going to go into the coins that have a use case, that have a network, a protocol that is working, that's valuable because of the utility it provides. So let's keep going in this, because the 12-week proof of concept pilot will explore the use of an interoperable platform known as the Regulated Liability Network, whereby banks issue tokens which are settled through simulated central bank money on a distributed ledger. The project will be conducted in a test environment using only simulated data. While the majority of central banks are exploring the development of a retail central bank digital currency, forms of digital money for use by the public. Many are also engaged in pilots around wholesale CBDCs, fiat money in token form for exchange among financial institutions to improve existing clearing and settlement processes. So we're going to look into the regulated liability network, but also too, like central bank digital currency policymaker toolkit. It never gets old. The Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution World Economic Forum. In it, you have like at the end here, page 17, digital payments ecosystem landscape evaluation, most relevant for wholesale central bank digital currencies, crypto assets designed for inter or intra-bank payments and settlements, XRP, baby, right there. You have it right at the center of all these wholesale CBDC projects ready to go as far as a intra-bank digital asset that can be the mechanism for the cross-currency conversion and the settlement. Because if all these countries launch their wholesale CBDCs on top of the XRP ledger, so they're issuing their digital dollar, digital euro on the XRP ledger, now you have the tokenized digital dollars, tokenized euros on that platform. Now when you got to do cross-border payments or institution to institution kind of cross-border payments and settlement, you have XRP sitting right there as the prime digital asset to bridge those and do that conversion. So that's what they're planning to do it. And you see something like right here, if relevant policymakers can consider how regulations and policies could mitigate the risks related to the de facto adoption of such digital currencies with regard to foreign country CBDC, it should also be noted that it may not be accessible to citizens outside the relevant country. Okay. So let's now go into the regulated liability network, because that's one thing that stuck out to me that I think I've seen before, but we need to dig into it because they're going to do an interoperable platform known as a regulated liability network. So I looked up on Google just regulated liability network, and we saw this from Citibank, the regulated Internet of Value. And let's go into it. That's where I saw it. Settle. All right, this is going to be a dive. So the Regulated Liability Network white paper on scalability and performance. This was December 6, 2021 by Settle. And let me actually go back to the connections between Settle, Swift, and Ripple. Because you have Margin, Delatine, Ripple, Settle right here. Settle hires former Swift and Ripple executive Margin Delatine. This was in February of last year. She will have... So blockchain settlement platform infrastructure provider Settle has hired former Ripple executive Margin Delatine to lead its payment business. Delatine will have overall responsibility for growing Settle's payments business alongside its market infrastructure and asset management offerings. She left Ripple last summer after 3.5 years as global head of banking. Before that, she spent 10 years at Swift, during which she was in charge of commercializing Target 2 securities and Swift GPI. And she said, key to helping the payment industry tackle the common pain points in need of a strong... Okay. Margin will be instrumental in realizing our ambitions to deliver innovative solutions to payment providers to empower them with the right applications to manage instant payments, cross-border liquidity, settlement, and compliance requirements. The connections run deep. So she worked at Ripple. So she worked at Swift 10 years, helped with their Swift GPI, which is like the real-time payments kind of thing Swift was working on. Then she went to Ripple and she was the head of global banking there, the global head of banking. And obviously like she knows about the cross-border, all that stuff. And now she's helping Settle improve their solutions and deliver them to their payment providers in the instances of cross-border liquidity, settlement, and compliance requirements. Then you can see that they have the Regulated Liability Network white paper on scalability and performance. And in his paper, the Regulated Internet of Value proposes a single network to record tokens and balances where tokens represent a promise or the liability of a regulated entity. The network, referred to as the Regulated Liability Network, would be used to issue liabilities of commercial banks, e-money providers, as well as the central banks, which would in essence be central bank digital currencies. In November 2021, a group of financial institutions demonstrated a working prototype based on Settle's open source blockchain solution as part of the global CBDC challenge hosted by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. The technical solution proposed by Settle was designed to scale to meet the transaction volume and throughput requirements of a practical regulated liability network. The The purpose of this white paper is to evaluate the scalability of that architecture. To make this assessment, Settle collaborated with Amazon Web Services to design and conduct performance tests on a simulated network, aiming to validate the Settle-based architecture could support 1,000 banks, each submitting 1,000 transactions per second to the network and a throughput of 1 million transactions per second. They have a white paper here. Let's just dive into it, because if they're going to tell us what they're using, now we got the keys. So let's go. And also along with that, we have Swell coming up tomorrow. And none other than who's talking as speakers, we got Amazon Web Services here. So where is it? Amazon Web Services Global Head Innovation and GTM right there. Then we have the Settle Regulated Liability Network document that's powered by AWS. Then this is Settle. I believe Settle's speaking there as well too. So let's look at that. Maybe not. Maybe Settle is not going to be there, but I thought I saw that somewhere. But MasterCard and then some of these banks that are participating in this wholesale CBDC pilot, they're going to be there. We've seen Wells Fargo partner with Ripple saying XRP is a currency. We've seen connections with MasterCard. We know the connections with HSBC. Chris Larson's on the high level or the board of directors for the technology advisory board there. We've seen the BNY Mellon connections. Like, we could dive into that deep, but I want to keep this on the regulated liability network. So let's keep going through this document. So we have this. There are many use cases for the regulated liability network, from retail cross-border transactions to wholesale collateral movements. Cross-currency movements can be broken down into two transfers, one in the first currency and one in the second currency. Those two transfers can be included within the same proposal to ensure that both are executed atomically. A similar approach can be taken with regard to delivery versus payment, or for complex multilateral clearing arrangements. Let's see. All right, so there's nothing else really in this document that's not like technical jargon here. So let's see if we can find anything through researching online more. So we have this from Citibank, the regulated Internet of Value. It's not been found. They took it down. So it's the institutional clients group. They took it down. Crazy. All right, so what are we going to do about that? Let's see. So this is digitalasset.com. The regulated liability network, a critical step in the evolution of a CBDC. What we got here is central bank digital currencies entering a new stage of maturity, with the majority of central banks exploring and testing its potential. Major global institutions, including the Bank of International Settlements and the International Monetary Fund, as well as agencies of the United Nations, have dedicated teams researching solutions to achieve faster, cheaper, and more transparent forms of payment and currency. But with the exception of that of China, central banks still have a number of choices to make concerning CBDC design and technology, as well as policy and legal questions to resolve before they make digital currency available to users. While there are many more steps to take on the journey to CBDC, the conversation is expanding and now includes substantive industry discussion in the regulated private sector. So in parallel with the evaluation of CBDC by various central banks, a number of commercial banks and payment service providers have proposed a regulated liability network that could capture and catalyze some of the promises of digital currency today using current rules, regulations, and arrangements. This plan leverages existing public-private sector arrangements for regulated payment networks and the place between central banks and commercial banks, but it improves on these arrangements to capture some of the key attributes of CBDC. So one of the most important elements of this plan is that it does not require new rules or functionality for any type of actors in the payments process. And then it goes into here, and there's a concept paper. So I'm going to see if I can get that. Then let's go down the current state of it. So a path to implementation. There we go. Digital Asset is deeply engaged with the central banks as they explore CBDC approaches and implementation strategies, and we are pleased to be working with the industry partners that have proposed the RLN. Since the RLN aims to be broadly inclusive of regulated financial institutions, the ability to connect to current banking technology is essential. Furthermore, the technology should also be flexible enough to accommodate both token and account-based or digitized methods for executing transactions. So assure and protect the privacy rights of each financial institution and its clients, enhance settlement and transparency, create scalability and improve efficiency with interoperability. Then we have reduce risk with atomicity, and then build new solutions or expand the network with extensibility.
So it talks about DAML, which I believe is DAML based CBDC experiments with Bank de France and DAML driven repo market platform and production in the US have demonstrated the ability to improve. So DAML, we're going to have to look into that. So if we go down here, it says the regulated liability network and CBDC. In summary, there are substantive attainable benefits of the regulated liability network in both the short and medium terms. Since the liabilities in questions are based on the existing legal framework, the creation of new assets is not required. Furthermore, the RLN addresses the problem of shrinking balance sheets for commercial banks, which hinders their ability to extend loans. Finally, the usage of new technologies for the RLN's underlying infrastructures allow for future capabilities like programmable money, increased transparency, instant cross-organization and cross-border settlements. With a DAML-based implementation, the use of liabilities of the RLN can even be extended to improve the efficiency of other types of transactions. For example, the cash leg of a securities transaction, while providing atomicity and privacy guarantees. It's important to note that while the RLN is not CBDC, it could exist in parallel with the digital currency issued by a central bank. We believe the RLN is a significant step on the journey towards realizing the full promise of CBDC. The initiative and collaboration demonstrated by its industry proponents can accelerate change and simplify the existing infrastructure to deliver substantial near-term benefits while central banks continue their exploration and analysis of CBDC, including how depository risk can be reduced or eliminated in financial institutions. Inclusion can be expanded. A robust, interoperable regulated liability network would be able to plug into CBDCs as they are developed and deployed, extending benefits more broadly and driving continued financial market innovation. There we go. All right, so DAML Enterprise. So it looks like DAML might be from Digital Asset. So DAML Enterprise gives you everything you need for enterprise-grade production deployments featuring 24/7 support from Digital Asset's experts. So we're going to look into that. Maybe I'll have to do another video on DAML. But yeah, so this is from Digital Asset, it looks like. Yeah, this is a whole nother video. So I'll do a deep dive on that today, see what's up with that. But what we see here is we have this pilot program from, here it is, from these banks for a wholesale digital dollar pilot with New York Fed. And it has a 12-week proof of concept pilot. Also, keep in mind, Ripple Digital Dollar, they were selected to do the sandbox. So Digital Dollar project to work with Ripple on CBDC technical sandbox. So like all the connections are there between these banks all being kind of connected with Ripple in some sort of or shape, form, or way, from just the verbiage wholesale digital dollar pilot to the CBDC policymaker toolkit, where we see that XRP is the intrabank kind of settlement asset for institutions there. Then we saw Settle working on the regulated liability network right here and talking about how they collaborate with AWS to design and conduct tests with that. And we seen Settle, she worked at Swift, then Ripple, now she's at Settle. And then we see that Settle is actually working with Swift, I believe, on their digital asset thing. So Swift plans to test crypto assets in Q1 2022. And they were doing that. The initiative included Clearstream. Where is it? Oh, Clearstream, Northern Trust, and Settle, and other industry players. So they're testing digital assets and CBDCs, as well as established forms of payment. So we see that right there. And you can even see their number of financial instruments such as stocks, bonds, other liquid assets, including commodities and real estates, have been tokenized. Huge, all the money. We see the connections there. Swift, Settle, Ripple. We see these banking heavyweights going live. We see Ripple Swell coming up with some of these institutions talking at this event. So there could be a huge announcement just around the corner tomorrow. And then we have the digital asset exchange being launched by Citibank. We see it, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and Citadel Securities. That's going to go live soon. We see the debacle, the FTX fallout, regulations being the narrative. Once regulations are in, then all these things can launch. And I believe it's going to happen within imminently to the next 3 to 6 months. We're really at the end game here. We're very close. So there we go. So I think that's it. I'll see if I can find anything as far as like technical like designs and like any other verbiage that may kind of show us that, hey, we know for a fact, here's a proof of that this is what they're building on. But for now, it doesn't seem like there's anything publicly available. Then we have Citi taking down this. So we're going to have to see. But yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. I'll be doing more follow-up videos today, seeing kind of about this DAML enterprise and any other connections I find. I'll send it out. So that's it for this newsletter. So that's it for this newsletter. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Links in the bio of this video.